Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to today's session of The Explainer. Today, we're going on a journey, and it's a wild one. We're talking an 8-year span, fierce battles against the elements, and ultimately, this breathtaking triumph of survival. We're looking at a truly masterful piece of literature today, Ruskin Bond's deeply moving poem, Cherry Tree. We're going to break down exactly how a tiny, entirely forgotten seed transforms into a towering symbol of resilience and wonder.
But, before we really get into the text, I want you to ask yourself something. Have you ever planted a seed, completely forgotten about it, and then witnessed an absolute miracle years later? I mean, think about that for a second. In our super fast-paced lives, we're so used to expecting instant results, right? But nature completely operates on its own timeline. So today, we're going to track the life of one seemingly insignificant cherry seed that just totally refused to quit.
And here is where our journey officially begins. We're looking straight at our source material today, the actual pages capturing Ruskin Bond's words. We're going to dissect these stanzas and those little margin notes step by step in our live teaching session, really unpacking the brilliant imagery and, honestly, the raw emotion hidden right there in the lines. But to truly get the heart of this poem, we've got to look at who is actually telling the story.
Section 1. Meet the Creator. Ruskin Bond's literary journey.
It is literally incredible to see the sheer breadth of this man's dedication. According to text, Ruskin Bond was born in 1934 in Kasauli, Himachal Pradesh. And get this, he wrote his very first novel, The Room on the Roof, when he was just 17 years old. I mean, wow. That early brilliance earned him the John Llewellyn Rhys Memorial Prize in 1957, and over the decades, the accolades just kept stacking up. He received the Sahitya Academy Award in 1992, and then the really prestigious Padma Shri in 1999. Today, he actually lives with his adopted family in Missouri, completely surrounded by the very nature he writes about so beautifully. This is a guy who deeply, intuitively understands the quiet, steady rhythms of the natural world.
All right, Section 2, the inciting incident, planting a tiny cherry seed.
Now, this is where our epic struggle kicks off. The poem tells a story that actually covers a massive 8-year span, which Bond heavily condenses into just a few short stanzas. It all starts with year 1, just simply placing a seed in the grass. Fast forward 5 months, and it's this tiny 5-month child just lost out there in the tall grass. The next spring, it actually pushes out 3 new shoots. The year after that, our poet goes off to Kashmir, and when he gets back, boom, the tree has shot up to 6 feet. And finally, the following year, we get the ultimate reward, pink blossoms. But listen, getting from year 1 to those blossoms, it is anything but easy.
So, the crucial point is really how it all starts, beautifully captured by Bond right here. Must have a tree of my own, I said, and watered it once and went to bed and forgot. But cherries have a way of growing. I absolutely love this. I mean, look at the stark contrast. The poet's casual, kind of careless action. He waters it literally once and just goes to bed, totally forgetting the whole shebang. He gives it the absolute bare minimum. Yet, the seed has this innate instinct to survive. It doesn't need his constant hand-holding. It's got a destiny of its own. But, as we know, nature isn't just beautiful. It can be notoriously harsh and totally indifferent.
Which brings us to Section 3, the trials, surviving goats, scythes, and blight.
Okay, this is where the tension in the poem really spikes. Just imagine being a tiny 5-month-old plant hidden out there in the grass. The odds are completely stacked against you. Bond walks us through 3 brutal chronological attacks that make this tree's survival seem, well, utterly impossible. First off, goats wander by and just eat its leaves. Typical, right? Then, a human threat. A grass cutter's scythe violently splits the poor thing apart. And as if the animals and humans weren't enough, nature itself turns against the little stem when a monsoon blight hits.
Let's just pause on that second threat for a second. Our textbook provides a margin definition that really hammers home the physical danger here. A scythe is defined as a tool with a long curved blade at right angle to a long handle used to cut long grass and grain. Guys, this isn't some gentle pruning shears. This is a massive, heavy, razor-sharp blade violently swinging through the grass, blindly splitting that young, super fragile cherry plant completely in half. Honestly, it's an absolute miracle it survived the metal alone.
And right on the heels of that violence comes the weather. The text defines blight pretty simply but ominously as causing damage. The poem specifically mentions a monsoon blight shriveled the slender stem. That word shriveled, it tells us it was dried out, just completely drained of its life force. So at this point in the narrative, this poor little plant has been eaten, chopped in half, and diseased.
You'd totally think this is the end of the line. But no way, it's not.
Section 4. The Triumphant Return. A Miracle of Green Growth.
The tree fights back. And you have to notice how Ruskin Bond's vocabulary completely shifts gears here to convey this powerful sense of awe. He writes, "The young trees struggle, upward thrust, its arms in a fresh, fierce lust, for light and air and sun." The margin notes from our source explicitly define thrust as pushed with force, and fierce as aggressive. I mean, this isn't some passive plant just meekly hoping to survive. This is an aggressive, determined warrior. It is literally thrusting its arms upward with a fierce lust for life, just totally desperate for light, air, and sun.
And right here is where we find the ultimate irony of the whole poem. While the tree is fighting this absolute monumental battle for its life, what is the poet doing? Well, the text tells us he went away the next year to spend a season in Kashmir. And the human creator returns from his travels described as thinner, rather poor. But meanwhile, the forgotten creation, the tree, has massively thrived. The poet realizes he is richer by a cherry tree at my door. That tiny, shriveled little stem is now a towering 6 feet high. The human returns completely depleted, while the natural world returns triumphant, delivering the sheer sensory payoff of this 8-year journey.
Which leads us nicely into Section 5, the reward. Blossoms, berries, and wonder.
The poet is in absolute disbelief. First, he spots a single berry hanging from a branch, describing it as ripened and jeweled in the sun. Just think about that word for a second, jeweled. It elevates this simple little fruit into something precious, a rare treasure earned through immense struggle. And then, the following year, the tree produces blossoms, small, pink, fragile, quick to fall at the merest breath, the sleepiest breeze. It's incredible, right? After all that fierce, aggressive surviving, the tree produces something so breathtakingly delicate.
We are now entering the final, kind of hushed climax of our explainer. This is exactly where the poet transitions from merely observing the tree from the outside to becoming completely absorbed into the world it has created. Because the textbook specifically points out the beneficiaries of the cherry tree. That single seed, the one planted and totally forgotten in the grass, it hasn't just survived. It has become an anchor for a thriving micro-ecosystem. The poet is lying there on the grass, looking up through the leaves, the dappled green, meaning marked with those beautiful patches of light and dark. He sees finches flying through, he watches bees completely drunk on sweet liquid nectar from the blooms, and as the sun sinks down, the moon moths arrive, accompanied by singing crickets. This one single tree is sustaining life all around it. It's not just the tree that's grown. The poet himself has been profoundly changed just by witnessing this whole miracle.
Section 6. The Transformation. The Poet's Final Ecstasy.
Now, the textbook gives us this crucial little definition in the margin. Ecstasy means a feeling of great happiness. In the text itself, the bees are in an ecstasy drinking nectar, but it becomes incredibly clear that the poet, lying on his back, watching the sky darken and the stars emerge right through the cherry branches, is sharing in this exact same state of overwhelming, pure joy.
And he delivers this revelation in the final super powerful lines of the poem. Yes, I praised night and stars and tree, that small, the cherry, grown by me. There's just such a deep, hushed sense of wonder here. Notice how he perfectly connects the vast, infinite cosmos, the night and the stars, with this one specific, small cherry tree. He takes a humble, yet really profound pride in it, grown by me. Sure, he may have only watered it once, but he was the catalyst. He initiated this entire miracle of nature.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought, one that bridges Ruskin Bond's gorgeous poetry straight into your own life. What tiny seeds of effort are you neglecting today that might just become a 6-foot miracle tomorrow? Whether it's a project, a relationship, or maybe learning a new skill, sometimes all it takes is that initial planting and the fierce, aggressive will to keep growing through the storms. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through Cherry Tree. Keep nurturing those seeds, and I'll catch you on the next one.